Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And we're working our way through Mahler. This is actually interesting because, when I moved, everything got scrambled. Although I kept the alphabet intact for my Overflow room. So all the alphabet was there, but I had the Mahler symphonies organized, by number, and that bit got a little bit confused. So we're in a patch now where some of that original numbering was preserved. So you'll see a bunch of the same thing in this particular batch, including, here's a nice historical recording. Leopold Ludwig, who did some decent Mahler on Everest. Remember that with the London Symphony? He did a 5 and 9, if I'm not mistaken. And here's Symphony number 4 with Annie Schlemm in the Staatskapelle Dresden from 1957. Worth keeping for the Staatskapelle Dresden, of course. And it's a good performance. Swift and light and unaffected, and the orchestra is delightful. It really is. I love the Staatskapelle Dresden. Even in the 50s, when they were still rebuilding somewhat after the war, they were one of the great orchestras. Then we've got this little collector's item. Jascha Horenstein doing the 4th with Margaret Price, who's a marvelous soprano in the finale. She's wonderful. There are some good things here. Horenstein this is 1970. And it was originally recorded on Monitor Records, I think. Remember that? That strange label? It was one of those odd things, but he did it with the London Philharmonic. The first movement gets bogged down in his traditional stiffness, where he just can't give the tempo, the flexibility that Mahler demands, especially in the development section. When it's going that dun 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 dun, and he's just like just beating time like a metronome. But other than that, it's really a pretty good performance. And like I said, the finale is beautiful with Margaret Price. So this is nice to have, and it eventually wound up on Les Voix de son Maître, French EMI. So there you go. Haha, make your friends jealous by having that. And here is the classic Horenstein Mahler III, which didn't sound good at all in its digital re-release on CD. It was fine on a non-such LP and Unicorn's own pressings, but somehow the digital recording did not come up very well, and the performance has not worn well. Let's face it, it just hasn't. It's a pity because, it's got some good things in it. It really does. And again, it's with Horenstein in the Western Wind passage, the crazy bit in the development where he's just beating time. And Mahler's saying, forward, move it, come on. He's all but kicking him in the ass, and Horenstein is just sitting there beating time. Some people think that that's structural. It's not structural, friends. It's boring. It's wrong. But it's not a bad Mahler third. And back in the day, it was one of the better ones. There was this one. There was Bernstein, who was the reference. And, eventually Haitink came along. That was wonderful. Kubelik's was very good. There were others that were very good. But availability, international availability was sort of iffy. And Horenstein was getting a lot more attention for this than he really deserved. Well, he deserved it then. Let's face it. He deserved it then. But now, no. It hasn't worn well, and it doesn't need to exist anymore very much. Mahler 3 and Kindertotenlieder with Järvi and the Royal Scottish Orchestra and all sorts of choirs and people, and the Kindertotenlieder with Linda Finney. I don't think Linda Finney is anything special, I got to tell you. Not in the Kindertotenlieder for sure, but it's an exciting Mahler third. Järvi did some really good Mahler for Chandos. If he'd done a complete cycle, it would have been interesting. He was sort of working his way up there, actually, because he did what? He did 6, he did 5, he did, was that it? I don't know if there were a couple others, but if there are, we'll get to them. But this is fine. It's exciting and well recorded. And yeah, he deserves more credit than he got. And then there's this one, this Mahler third. Yes, it's Mahler third with lots of Japanese people. And some other things as well. And number 6, there we go, with more Japanese. They're not Japanese, the performers. It's Deutsche Schallplatten. It's, oh my goodness, who was doing this? Yeah, Hines Rögner. That's who it is. It's Rögner doing Mahler 3 and 6, the old Deutsche Schallplatten recordings. Maybe there's something in English that tells us who. Oh, here we go. Hines Rögner and the Berlin Radio Symphony Orchestra. Whew. Never thought I'd see the day. Actually, these are good performances. Believe it or not, they are decent performances. They're on 3 discs spread out strangely, with the first movement of the 6th occurring after the finale of the 3rd. And the 3rd particularly is a fresh and very enjoyable record from a very strange source. I liked hearing East German Mahler actually back in the day, just to see what was going on and how much better sometimes they were than West German Mahler, because West German was monopolized by Karajan, and Karajan was Karajan. But these guys, these Kapellmeister types, actually did some really, really lovely work. And this is a terrific souvenir of that. So we have that. Then we've got Esa-Pekka Salonen's Mahler 3rd with Anna Larson contralto. I saw him do this live at Avery Fisher Hall. He adds a bass drum to the timpani thwumps at the very end of the finale, which are so totally unnecessary and kind of incorrect, because Mahler wants it to be musical, not percussive at the end. He doesn't mark the timpani triple forte or anything. They're just forte, dum, bum, bum. And it's very interesting. The ending, people talk about that ending being kind of, going on forever and strange, but there's a reason for it. The reason is that it's the same ending, just so you know, as the 1st and 3rd movements in the timpani parts, right? The timpani part in the first movement, it's going da, all hell breaks loose, tam crash, and it goes dum ba dum bum 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 bum, and the timpani boom 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 do dum ba dum ba dum bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum like that, and then the scherzo, it's bum 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 ba dum ba dum bum ba dum bum bum, and the timpani going bum 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 like this. And then finally, at the end, the very, very end, you have the timpani going dum, bum, bum, bum. That sort of celebratory, but it shouldn't be that crazy pounding that we heard previously. That's the whole concept with Mahler trying to elevate the themes that we've heard previously in the symphony to a higher sphere in What Love Tells Me, the end of the whole symphony. And it works really well. It really does, if you understand what Mahler's doing. And I wonder if Salonen did, which is funny because he's just a genius musically. I mean, who am I to tell him, right? But he liked the bass drum. Anyway, other than that, it happens to be a really good performance of the 3rd. And I don't even mind the bass drum that much, because it's a one-off thing. In other words, he's known as such a composer, conductor, someone who's always so strictly faithful to the score and detailed and precise and all that. So it's nice to hear him do a little Stokowski thing at the end of the symphony. I mean, in this particular case, but it's beautifully recorded and wonderfully well played. And he did some good Mahler. He did 4, he did 3, 4, and Das Lied von der Erde. So the Das Lied had its issues. It had Placido Domingo and whatnot, but still. And then we've got, the Michael Gielen Mahler 2. It's a great Mahler 2. This is a piece that Gielen could really sink his fangs into. All of the dark, crazy bits and the avant-garde, forward-looking, percussive bits. And if, he probably had to tell himself that the transcendental finale was only a waypost on the way to Mahler's eventual resignation and misery, because that's the way he thought of the world. But it's a terrific performance. It's well recorded. It's exciting. It's got all the right things in all the right places. So that's lovely on SWR and Hensler. So now it's just SWR. Well, now it's out of print, so who knows where it is. Then we've got this twofer. Claudio Abbado, Mahler's 2 and 4. Okay, with Carol Neblett, Marilyn Horn, Frederica von Stade, or von Stade, however you want to do it. The Vienna Phil is with the 4th. The Mahler 2 is with Chicago. It's a good Mahler 2. It's certainly Abbado's best Mahler 2, although he did it elsewhere with like Lucerne Festival that some people rave about for some crazy reason. It's such an uninteresting performance. But, it has some of Abbado's, little micromanaging quirks in it. They weren't awful yet. But the ruta, in the scherzo, Mahler marks it piano. Well, he makes sure it's barely audible. I mean, there's some weird things like that, But it's definitely the Chicago Symphony's best Mahler too. Schulte's digital remake wasn't nearly as good. It's an exciting performance, very well sung, and generally speaking, well recorded. The Mahler 4, it had a lot of favorable press when it came out as an LP. But this is another one of those recordings that didn't make it to CD. When it was digitally transferred, you became aware of all of the multi-miking and performance noises and other things that were captured. It became really painful to listen to. It's a beautiful performance, extremely well sung, and had it been remastered in a way that I think, did it justice, we would be saying something very different. But it doesn't sound good. It just doesn't. And it's a shame because Abbado was pretty good with that symphony. So that's that. Then we've got the Bernstein Mahler 3. I was at these performances. They're wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I actually think they went back and after the initial LPs came out and remastered the finale, the performance of the finale, because there was a slow and it was slow and slower, but they did something after it initially was released. I'm pretty sure it's a fabulous performance. I don't think it's quite as spontaneous as Bernstein's first New York Phil recording, which is the reference one on Sony. But he just had the measure of these pieces, numbers 2 and 3, as nobody else did in his lifetime. So, let's not pretend otherwise. Then we've got Mahler's 1 and 2 and the Songs of a Wayfarer with Walter. These are great. These are just great. The finale of the first is he does a little bit of tempo manipulation in the main theme that holds it back just a touch, but compared to his mono recording, where he just blows through it and it's exciting as hell. But the Mahler 2 is terrific and very well recorded for its day with a wonderful organ. My goodness, better than most modern recordings. And these are classic Mahler interpretations by a Mahler disciple. So they're important and wonderful. And I am glad to have extras. These are extras. I have lots of extras. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.